For almost 20 years, there was this one story, this single kind of impenetrable shield that was protecting Prince Andrew. It was repeated in legal depositions. It was the entire backbone of that disastrous Newsnight interview, and Palisades whispered it to anyone who would listen. The story was simple. I was honorable but naive.
That was the line. Exactly. The whole narrative was that he stood by his friend, Jeffrey Epstein, right up until the 2008 conviction made it impossible.
Right.
And then, the claim goes, he flew to New York in 2010 for one reason, and one reason only, to look the man in the eye and break it off for good.
The honorable exit defense. I went there to end it. But as of this week, February 2026, that shield hasn't just cracked, it's been completely vaporized. We're looking at a huge cache of newly released documents, emails, photos covered by India Today, and there's a breaking report from the BBC about a new accuser. And the dates on this stuff, I mean, the dates are an absolute disaster for him.
They completely dismantle the timeline. And that's really our mission for this deep dive. We're not here to rehash old gossip or, speculate on things we can't prove.
No.
We are going to do a forensic audit of this friendship using hard, date-stamped evidence. We're talking legal correspondence, personal emails, even holiday cards that prove this was an active, intimate friendship that continued well into 2010, 2011, and even 2012.
And we have to place this in the now, right? It's February 2026. Andrew has been stripped of his titles, for real this time, and he's facing eviction from the Royal Lodge. So these aren't just historical footnotes. These revelations are basically the nail in a coffin that's already in ruins.
Exactly right. This data dump just removes all the ambiguity. We are seeing communication that is undeniably warm, familial, and happening years after the entire world knew Jeffrey Epstein was a predator.
Okay, so let's start with the most jarring piece. I want to talk about what I'm calling the family man emails, because the defense has always been that he kept his family separate from this mistake.
That he compartmentalized, which was always a shaky claim, but these documents they obliterate it. I mean, remember, the whole clean break myth depends on that 2010 visit being the absolute end.
Of course.
If you're cutting someone off, you don't send them updates on your children.
Okay, so keep that date in your head. 2010, the supposed cutoff. Now, look at this email we have in the source material. It is dated December 21st, 2011.
A full year after this so-called breakup.
A full year later,
Right.
and 3 years after Epstein's conviction for soliciting a minor, it's sent from Andrew's official HRH the Duke of York email account. And it's not business, it's a holiday card.
And we really need to pause on what that means. In the world of the British aristocracy, and definitely within the royal family, a Christmas card isn't just a piece of paper you buy at the store.
No, it's a statement.
It's a political tool, it's a status symbol, it is a very clear signal of who is in your inner circle. You curate that mailing list very, very carefully.
And you curate the photo even more carefully. This wasn't some generic season's greetings with a snowy castle. It featured his daughters. We have the description right here. It shows Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie in the snow. Beatrice is wearing, like, a silver Christmas cracker hat. And Eugenie's bundled up in a fur hat and a brown scarf.
It's so intimate. It's a dad photo. It's the kind of picture you send to grandparents or, godparents.
And the message reads, "Wishing you much joy and happiness at this time and for the year ahead. Signed, Andrew." Now just stop there. If you are trying to distance yourself from a convicted sex offender, do you send him a picture of your children?
Psychologically, it is just damning. But let's look at their ages, because this is where it gets really, really uncomfortable. In 2011, Beatrice and Eugenie weren't little kids. They were young women, roughly 23 and 21 years old. This is the exact demographic that Epstein played upon.
That's the part that makes your skin crawl. It's not just a lapse in judgment. It feels like a betrayal of his own daughter's safety, or at the very least their privacy.
Well, if you are a father and you have even a tiny shred of belief that this man is dangerous, which the conviction proved he was, your instinct is a firewall. You separate your children from him completely. Sending that photo, it implies a really high level of comfort.
It does.
It suggests that, in Andrew's mind, Epstein was still a safe person, someone he could share his family life with. It basically implies the conviction meant absolutely nothing to him.
And it gets worse. Fast forward another year, December 20, 2012. We are now 4 years post-conviction.
years.
4 years after the world knew exactly who this guy was, and another card hits Epstein's inbox.
And this one is even more elaborate. It's not just a snapshot, it's like a newsletter.
It's a full-on collage.
Yeah.
4 photos. We've got a visual of Princess Beatrice climbing Mont Blanc. She's got her hand on her hip, smiling at the camera, looking really strong. We've got Eugenie at a Knight Rider charity bike ride. It's a shot of Sarah Ferguson, his ex-wife, at Canada's Great Slave Lake. And there's a photo of Andrew himself abseiling down the Shard.
Think about the image he's crafting there, abseiling down the Shard. He's presenting himself as this action hero, this dynamic prince.
Totally.
And he is sending this personal family update to a registered sex offender in New York. It's not just keeping in touch, it's seeking validation. It's like, look how well we're doing. Look at my successful daughters.
Yeah.
Look at me being a hero.
It just destroys the "I was naive" defense. You don't naively curate a family newsletter for a predator 4 years after the fact. You do that for a friend, a close friend.
Exactly. It implies the relationship was functional, active, and reciprocal. You don't send that kind of thing into a black hole. You send it because you expect the other person to actually care.
So if the cards show the emotional connection, the emails about the Russian woman show the transactional side. And this is where the documents get explicit about what this friendship actually involved.
Yeah, this is the exchange from 2010. And this is where the legal exposure, even now in 2026, becomes very, very real for him.
So the context is key here. This exchange happens just after Epstein was released from house arrest. He's out. He's a free man again, technically. And Andrew, using that same official email account, sends a message asking if Epstein is, quote, glad to be free.
Which, again, just think about that phrasing. It completely contradicts the idea that he was disgusted by the crimes. You don't ask a predator if he's glad to be free if you think he belongs in jail.
No.
You ask that if you think he's just been inconvenienced. It frames the whole thing as a hassle, not as justice.
It's so casual, buddy. But then the documents reveal a specific solicitation. Epstein arranges for a 26-year-old Russian woman to meet Andrew. The documents describe her explicitly as beautiful and trustworthy.
And that word trustworthy is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence.
You sure is.
In the world of Epstein's operation, trustworthy meant one thing: discreet. It meant someone who wouldn't talk to the press or to the police. It's a coded language that Andrew clearly understood.
Right. And Andrew's response isn't, no thanks, or I'm a prince, I don't do this. It's not even, hey, I'm coming over to break up with you, why are you offering me women? His response was that he was delighted by the offer.
Delighted. That single word choice is going to haunt him. It suggests enthusiasm. It suggests anticipation. It suggests this wasn't some anomaly. It was a service he was happy to receive.
And we have to layer this over the location data. We know for a fact Andrew stayed at Epstein's New York townhouse in December 2010. That's when that infamous photo of them walking in Central Park was taken.
The so-called breakup trip. That was the cover story.
That was the story.
Allegedly. But the context these new documents give us is that this visit happened just days after Epstein completed his house arrest. Andrew didn't wait months for the hit to die down. He rushed right over there.
It looks less like a breakup and way more like a reunion. You're free, let's celebrate.
Precisely. But there's a detail in the India Today report that I think is the single most devastating piece of evidence about his judgment. Newly released records show Andrew invited Epstein to Buckingham Palace just 1 month after his house arrest ended.
Wait, I just wanted to make sure everyone listening really gets that. We're talking about Buckingham Palace,
Buckingham Palace.
the actual seat of the monarchy. He invited a man who just finished a sentence for soliciting a minor to the palace.
Yes. The source material is explicit. 1 month after house arrest ended, this just obliterates the idea that Andrew saw him as a liability or a shameful person to be associated with. You don't invite a liability to the palace.
You invite an asset.
Or a very close friend. You invite someone you want to impress or maybe reward.
It's just so brazen. It implies a level of impunity that's honestly hard to wrap your head around. Did he really think he could just bring a convicted sex offender into the Queen's home and nobody would blink?
Well, for a long time, nobody did. That's the tragedy of it all. The palace is a machine that's designed to protect the reputations of the senior royals, and Andrew banked on that protection.
Which brings us to the breaking news from the BBC. This just dropped yesterday, and it really shifts the ground here.
It does.
For so long, the public focus has been almost totally on Virginia Giuffre. She was the face of the accusations. But now a U.S. lawyer named Brad Edwards, who represents many survivors, has brought forward a brand new allegation.
A new accuser. A second woman.
Edwards states that this woman, She's not British, and she was in her 20s at the time, was trafficked to the UK specifically for Andrew. This allegedly happened in 2010. Again, look at the year. Post-conviction.
So this would be happening around the same time as those emails we just talked about. The timeline lines up perfectly with that delighted exchange.
The allegation is that she was sent to the Royal Lodge. That's Andrew's home in Windsor. But there's a detail here that is, I mean, honestly, it sounds like something out of a dark satire. But it's in the lawyer's statement.
What is it?
He claims that after the alleged sexual encounter, the woman was given tea and a tour of Buckingham Palace.
The morning after tour.
Exactly. It's like, here's your tea, there's the throne room, thanks for your services.
Yeah.
It is just surreal. It turns the actual symbols of the monarchy into party favors.
It's surreal, but we do have to look at the corroboration challenges. The BBC notes that while the palace does keep records of tour guests, they can't verify the specific visit without revealing the woman's identity, which obviously they won't do.
But don't you see a pattern here? We just talked about Andrew inviting Epstein to the palace. Now we have an accuser saying she was taken to the palace.
Oh, there is absolutely a pattern, and a BBC investigation from last year, 2025, established that Epstein did traffic women to the UK on commercial and private flights. The flight logs are there. So the mechanism for this allegation to be true is factual. The infrastructure to move women to the UK for these purposes existed. It wasn't just a fantasy. The logistics were in place.
And Edwards, the lawyer, is saying he's considering a civil lawsuit, which just raises a huge question. Can Andrew even fight this? We keep hearing he's broke, but is that just, a PR line?
That brings us to the current state of affairs. We really need to talk about where we are in 2026 because the whole landscape has changed so drastically in just the last 12 months. The prince, who could call on unlimited resources, he doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah, and we have to address the tragedy regarding Virginia Woolf. The sources mention it clearly, and it's a heavy part of this, but you can't tell the story of 2026 without it. She settled for that estimated £12 million in 2022. But the report says she released a posthumous memoir.
Yes. The sources confirm that she took her own life last year in 2025.
It's just heartbreaking. She fought for so long.
It's an immense tragedy, and it's really important to understand the sequence of events here. It was after the release of her memoir, which likely had details that the settlement had suppressed, that King Charles finally made his move. In October 2025, Andrew was formally stripped of his titles and honors.
And we should clarify what that actually means for you listening. This wasn't just a step back from public duties like before. We've seen that movie.
No. The stepping back was a PR move, a holding pattern. This was the king formally removing the style, title, and honors. It means he is no longer His Royal Highness. He's essentially just a private citizen named Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. It's a stripping of rank that is almost unprecedented in modern royal history. It's an expulsion.
And the reports now paint a picture of a man who's just totally isolated.
Earth.
Brad Edwards mentioned that Andrew seems disconnected from his U.S. lawyers.
Disconnected is a very polite, lawyerly way of saying he's ghosting them. Or maybe, more likely, he's just run out of road. Litigation in the U.S. costs millions. If the king has cut off the money and he's facing eviction, Andrew simply might not have the war chest to fight a new civil suit. He could be unrepresented.
And the fallout has hit his family, too. We talked about those Christmas cards, Beatrice and Eugenie. They were the happy family props back in 2011. The shield he held up to Epstein. Now, the sources say there's a real split.
It appears so, yeah. Beatrice was recently seen horse riding with Andrew at Windsor. The interpretation there is that it's a show of support, or at least familial duty. She's being the dutiful older daughter.
Right.
But the report suggests Eugenie has cut all contact.
That's a heavy detail. One daughter riding beside him, the other one completely gone. It just shows how toxic this whole legacy has become. It's ripped the family unit, the very thing he tried to show off in those Christmas cards, right down the middle.
And just to be thorough, the document dump didn't only name Andrew. We should be clear about that. The India Today report mentions unverified references to others. There was a mention of Elon Musk planning a visit in 2014, some allegations about Bill Gates.
Right, we see those names pop up in the headline.
But the difference, and this is so crucial, is the concrete nature of the evidence against Andrew. With him, we're not just looking at a name on a flight log or a calendar entry. We have the photos. We have the emails from his own account saying, "I'm delighted." We have the holiday cards describing his daughter's hats.
That's what sets it apart.
That is what sets it apart from a mere mention in a logbook. It is the active participation.
That's the distinction, isn't it? It's the difference between being in someone's orbit and being in their inner circle. between attending a dinner and sending photos of your kids.
Precisely. It's that active participation that just destroys the defense.
So what does this all mean if we step back and look at that "I cut him off" defense?
Yeah.
I mean, it's dead, right? It has to be.
It is non-existent. It's a complete fiction. You cannot claim you cut off a predator while you are simultaneously sending him holiday cards of your children and inviting him to Buckingham Palace. These emails prove Andrew didn't just tolerate Epstein, he actively brought him into his family life, digitally, long after the world knew the danger.
It's the normalization of it that gets me. That's the word that keeps popping into my head as we go through all this.
That's the key word, normalization. Think about that allegation, the palace tour after the sexual encounter. If that is true, it suggests that this abuse wasn't just happening in the shadows.
No.
It was being woven into the very fabric of royal life.
Like it was a perk, like a frequent flyer benefit or something.
Exactly. It was treated as casually as a tourist visit. Have some tea, see the palace, go home. It reduces the victims to amenities. It dehumanizes them completely while elevating the abuser to the status of a VIP guest. It suggests Andrew viewed his own royal status as something that could scrub the stain off Epstein.
That is such a chilling thought. Just another perk of the friendship. Come for the girls, stay for the tour. It makes the monarchy itself an accessory to it.
And it begs the question of who else knew. You don't just walk someone into Buckingham Palace without people seeing. That kind of normalization requires bystanders. It requires security guards, aides, secretaries. All of them had to look the other way or just view it as normal. The institution itself had to blink.
Which leads me to the question I want to leave everyone with today. We have black and white proof that Andrew lied about something as simple and as verifiable as sending a Christmas card. He lied about when he stopped talking to him. He lied about the nature of the friendship.
And when the small lies are disproven so easily, the big denials lose all their weight.
Exactly. So if he lied about the Christmas cards,
Yeah.
what reality are we missing when it comes to the Russian woman and this new accuser? All credibility is just gone. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll be watching this civil suit very closely.
Indeed, it's not over yet.
See you next time.